If anyone asks me, I think the tagline for the 2023 AFCON will be drama, just the drama, because the 2023 AFCON is the gift that keeps giving. I'm sure even Steven Spielberg or James Cameron wouldn't have been able to write this script perfectly. No one will have predicted the pairings for the quarterfinals correctly. No one, even with a crystal ball, not even Kado Gundari with one in the corner of his room. We welcome every one of you to yesterday at the AFCON, and of course, looking at what went down yesterday in Cote d'Ivoire, another action-packed drama we had right yesterday. The tournament continued to live beyond the expectation that everyone set for it. Welcome. My name is Ashololu Afemi. Kayode Gundare is here. Kayode, I don't even know where to start, but let's start with the big one. South Africa, Morocco. I'm sure, yeah, just like I mentioned earlier, even your crystal ball wouldn't have revealed to you that South Africa would take the day, and even if they would, you wouldn't expect that it's going to be by 2-goal margin.
Femi, to be honest with you, I think the South Africans fully deserved their victory. Take nothing away from them. They deserve that victory. Of course, if that missed penalty had gone in by Achraf Hakimi, it would have changed the story of the game. But then it did not, and we cannot begin to dwell on missed chances. So we have to go with the reality, which is that South Africa won 2-0. But let me also quickly say this as a form of introduction, that going into this competition, I agree with you that this has been like the most exciting AFCON in history. I've been following the AFCON for like upwards of 40 years for me. This has been the most exciting AFCON I have seen. 1. 2, this has been the most unpredictable AFCON I have seen. 3, going into this AFCON, there were three teams that stood out for me, and I will come to them shortly. They stood out for me based on the kind of burden that was on them, the burden of expectation. 1, Ivory Coast as host nation, you expected them to host and win. Senegal as holders, of course, you expect them to defend their title because Morocco, because of their performance at the World Cup. We talked about this during the countdown. I said, everybody, before we take Morocco serious, they have to replicate what they did at the World Cup now at the AFCON. That didn't happen. Morocco are out. Senegal couldn't defend their title. They are out. Ivory Coast just managed by the skin of their teeth to escape. And then they just escaped that stage. They are still in for more surprises. They are going to play Mali in their quarterfinal game. Yeah, they probably, if they go on to improve from what they did against Senegal, they may take on. They may actually account for Mali. Although those Malians are also not in Ivory Coast to play. So, like I keep saying, the competition is just about to start.
Yeah, of course. Morocco, someone might say things didn't work out in their favor in the night because they lost Amrabat to a red card and Hakimi missing that penalty. Of course, we will come in shortly to Senegal because they're creeping the data. I'm sure, Kade, you heard the comment he made about CAF and the corruption just because he felt that they should have got a penalty of their own in regulation time before the games went into penalty against the host Ivory Coast. Okay, let's talk about South Africa. What do you think has changed for the Bafana? Was it that they were jolted from their sleep or dream or whatever you want to call it after they lost to Mali in the opening game?
I think 2 things work for them. The first is that they have, out of their 26-man squad, Femi, 10 of those players are from Mamelodi Sundowns alone. That stability, that, what do you call it?
Cohesion.
That cohesion, and the fact that for me, in the past 2 years, Mamelodi Sundowns have been like the best team on the continent. Their women won the Women's Champions League. Their men are also there. So it shows how far they have come. And they bring that cohesion, that organization, that teamwork, they bring it to the national team. And it is so obvious. The main men in the national team are those who play for Mamelodi Sundowns. I'm not trying to downplay what the other players are doing, but you understand, this reminds me of the Green Eagles Nigerian team of the late 70s and early 80s, that they had 11 players, the 11 players from just 2 teams. IICC Shooting Stars and Rangers International accounted. IICC has 6 players. As a matter of fact, in the 1980 AFCON winning team, IICC had 6 players. Rangers had 5. This was in an era where they only registered 18 players. So 11 players came from
11.
those 2 teams.
Too close.
So, yeah, so you could, and they were the 2 best teams in the land. So you could understand the cohesion and everything that the team had, and it was easy for them to gel. That's the first one. The second and the most important one was Hugo Broos. He came with experience, one. Then secondly, he changed the mentality of the South Africans. Before, these same players would have the way they lost their opening game to Mali, they would have lost like 2 of their 3 games, and by now they will be back home in South Africa. They changed their mentality. Now they believe in this, and that's frightening for me. You saw the former South Africa, if they had led Morocco 1-0 at any stage, they would have just sat back and hoped that they can defend that 1 goal. But they went out to get more goals, and they did. That's the change in mindset, a change in mentality that the coach who had worked this part before, he led Cameroon to victory in 2017, is doing the same with South Africa now. I'm not saying he's going to win or that he's not capable, but he has the mentality, he has the experience to lead them to victory in this year's AFCON.
Okay, Kari, let's talk about that second goal, that free kick. We've seen some awesome free kicks at this competition, but with all due respect, I can't remember the last time South Africa scored a free kick in the AFCON. But that free kick was sumptuous, and it will not even be easy for anyone to beat Bono, one of the best goalkeepers on the continent. That was a fantastic free kick.
Yeah, it was, and we shouldn't take anything away from it. It's one of the goals of the tournament already for me, because coming at the time it did, the execution, and the fact that this was the same player that was fell down, he stood up, dusted himself down,
and took it.
And he knew, Femi, that was not by mistake. He knew where he was going to put the kick.
Technique. Yeah.
The precision with which he hit that ball will tell you that we should be seeing more of this. Of course, this AFCON, we've seen a lot of goals, Femi, but we need, now I think we are so suffused with goals that we are blasting now that we are not just content with just any goal. We want to see all those golazo, the high-class goals, and this will rank amongst the team of the goals of the tournament. Then there was one that won, the Angolan player also scored in I think in the group stages. So these are the kind of goals that we remember long after the competition has ended, Femi. We'll keep talking about this goal, and I expect to see that we're going to see more as we go into the final stages of the competition.
Okay, I do not envy the CAF technical team who will be picking maybe the best goals, the best players in this competition, and I'm sure that we've not even seen the best of the dramas yet, because by Friday the quarterfinals pairings will get underway, and Angola, they're already speaking that they're ready to upset Nigeria, as they've regarded themselves as the underdog going into that game. Before we leave this South African Morocco, what has damaged in this Moroccan team? You would expect them ordinarily to go beyond this level. The whole world saw what they did in Qatar about 2 years ago, and coming to the AFCON, like you mentioned, they're one of the teams you're actually looking out for. But even if you predict that they will lose at some point in this competition, I'm sure you will not say it's going to be against South Africa.
Femi, the words of our elders are words of wisdom. The late Rashidi Yekini said something like over 30 years ago that I am beginning to understand, and now he said coming back to play in Africa is a very difficult thing to do for anybody. Playing at the AFCON is much more difficult. It may not be tactically, but it takes a lot away from you. It drains you of energy, maybe. So when Yekini said that over like some 30 years ago, I couldn't relate with it. Now I do. That the same team that Morocco took to the World Cup minus ZH plus ZH now are not able to go beyond the round of 16 at the AFCON when they go to this final 4 at the World Cup. I'm not saying the World Cup, the AFCON is bigger than the World Cup. No, I'm just saying it takes something much more than just tactics much more than techniques. It takes physical strength out of you. I've heard a lot of people talk about the fact that the North Africans didn't do well because of the weather, and I say no. Take the Nigerian team, for example. Apart from Olorunleke Ojo, who plays with Enyimba, practically all of the players are in Europe. How many of them play in West Africa?
A lot of them are even born in Europe, not even
That's
Nigeria.
A lot of the players. Take the Ghanaian team, for example. Take the Senegalese team, for example. How many of them play in Africa? So it's not about the weather. It's about the fact that this competition drains a lot of energy away from you. And the shows, for me, I like the fact that the AFCON has come at this stage. A lot of people have taken notice. Even the numbers are crazy, Femi. Check Sky Sport. Sky Sport will tell you that the numbers are crazy. Check the spectators at the game, at the competition itself. Those are record-breaking numbers. I'm not going to deceive you. And do you know that the Asian Cup is going on as we speak? Nobody's talking about it.
Talking
They are in
about
the
it.
quarterfinals also. Nobody's talking about it. Even in the world, I'm not even talking about Africa. In the world, global media, they are more focused on the AFCON. That should tell you something, Femi. So for me, Morocco are out, not because anything is wrong with their team. Don't be surprised. This same team will go back and play some European teams and still do well.
Okay. Kayode, would you say Morocco are overrated? Would you say they are overrated?
I would not say they are overrated. I would just say they need to do whatever they did at work. They need to do it on a much more consistent basis. If they do that like not every time, it's not possible to be on top of your game every time. If they do it like 75% of the time, Femi, I will agree that they are up there. But no, apart from, and let's also look at something, Femi. Apart from the fact that they did well at the World Cup, what is their pedigree in this competition to recommend them? Morocco have not particularly done well at the AFCON. They've not.
Because people thought this generation of Moroccan players would be able to change that narrative.
That's the point. So that's the only recommendation is because, okay, what they did at the World Cup shut them up on the FIFA rankings, and that's why everybody thought, okay, they are going to come back, and if you could get to the final four at the AFCON, you should be able to win at the World Cup. You should be able to win the AFCON, but that's the wrong calculation, and we are all witness to it. We saw what happened yesterday.
Okay. Of course, despite having the majority of the support yesterday, because I remember when the referee gave that penalty, the penalty that Achraf Hakimi rattled against the crossbar, there was this huge uproar in the stadium. But yet, Morocco, I'm sure this morning they will be kicking themselves and looking back at how they failed to actually get something against South Africa. Now, let's talk about Mali, Burkina Faso. Yesterday, we talked about this game in our preview, and it perfectly lived up to the expectation. For the first time in 11 years, Mali will be playing in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, they were good value for their win. Even though the first goal came off an own goal by the Burkinabe goalkeeper, I felt, having seen them in their previous games, their 3 previous games, I felt, and I said as much yesterday, that I think these Malians are better than the Burkinabes, and they showed it. I'm happy they did not disappoint. And that's where I fear for the Ivorians. Forget the euphoria of their win against Senegal. They're going to meet this Mali team that is technically better than them. Yeah, Femi. Of course, that doesn't mean that I'm saying that Mali are runaway winners of the game itself. But if you look at them player for player, based on what they have done, both teams have done at this competition, I would think the Malians are a bit better. They are more compact. They play together. They do not play the individualistic game. You could see in their games that there's a synergy, there's cohesion in their team, and everything that should work for them is working for them so far. But this is football. You never can say with 100% degree of accuracy that will guarantee victory. But I think if the Ivorians are happy that they escaped Senegal, they should hold their breath until after the game against Mali.
I totally agree with you, because like we always say that it is difficult to play against a team that really do not have much to prove, unlike Senegal that the Ivorians could even mark, they could mark out some certain players, but in the Malian team, who would you even mark? So how fast across the world? So you have to reset your diary because the quarterfinal matches will be going down from Friday and Saturday. And of course, it will be Nigeria versus Angola. Then you have DR Congo versus Guinea. Those matches, the two will be taking place on Friday. Then Mali versus Ivory Coast, as well as Cape Verde versus South Africa on Saturday. And Kyle, you know what? I checked through the quarterfinal appearance. I found out that you have 4 teams that have won this AFCON before, and you have 4 teams that are itching to win it for the very first time.
Yeah,
so it's even from sort.
It's a very, very interesting setup. And another fact is the fact that of the 8 teams left in this competition at this stage, Femi, none of them were at this stage at the last AFCON. Not one of them.
Wow.
Go to the quarterfinal.
That's interesting.
That's to tell you that this AFCON is like no other one. And I'm not sure the last time we had that happen. That apart from the fact that the 8 quarterfinalists were not in the quarterfinals last time, the first 5 teams ranked by FIFA are all knocked out. Yes, Femi. That's to show you how crazy this AFCON has been. And the fans are enjoying it. We like it.
Yeah.
I have been particularly impressed by the quality of facilities, Femi. We shouldn't forget that. Because don't forget that this competition, unlike in some of the previous editions, nobody has complained about the pitch. Nobody has complained about the services, about the facilities that have been provided. The only thing everybody has complained about is the weather. And that is beyond the
control, human control.
That's beyond the control of the host country. So we should give the Ivorians their flowers for organizing a near perfect competition so far.
Rightly said, Kyle. Because if you look at it, Nigeria have won it, Angola have not won it, DR Congo have won it, Guinea haven't won it, Mali haven't won it, Ivory Coast have won it, Cape Verde haven't won it, South Africa have won it. So it's an even matchup. So we'll get our fingers crossed as far as that is concerned. Let's come to Lepin Diatta, of course, Crepin Diatta, I should say. The Senegalese who has accused CAF of corruption. I'm sure CAF, they will be coming down with a big hammer on him. And I quickly quote what he said. Remember, he claimed that they should have got their own penalty after Ivory Coast were awarded one. He said, "You've killed us. You're corrupt. Keep your African Cup. You go and consult VAR to give them a penalty." But a guy, Sar, talking about Ismail Sar, runs 40 meters overlap, breaks into the box, and you can't go and look at the VAR. I'm sorry, but it's ridiculous. I'm really sorry, but they've killed our competition there. He was talking with journalists in the mixed zone. Kyle, what do you make of this? In that game, I'm sure it was a game the whole world saw, and I've not seen anywhere written that Ivory Coast were favored because they are hosts. What will you make of the Diatta's comments?
Number one is, don't forget that 2 days ago when we were doing was that 2 days ago or yesterday when we were doing the preview of the game, I said I'm not going to rule out the fact that if there was an offside chance of Ivory Coast needing help from the officials, they are going to render that help because, of course, CAF wanted the host nation to remain. Of course, for business, it does make sense. And I think, to be fair, that game, I think that's the only person who has talked about the incident in such a way. We are all agreed that the VAR have been almost perfect in this competition. So I'm not going to agree with him. I think he's just been a sore loser. That's what I think. Yeah, I think he's just been a sore loser. The Senegalese did not do enough. I'm sure that he's saying this because they lost some penalties. If they had won the penalty shootout, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be saying this. So for me, it's a no-no. I do not agree that there was a deliberate attempt by CAF to favor Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast got what they did out of their own endeavor, out of their own hard work, not that CAF helped them or in any way. And the incident he referred to, if the referee had missed it, the VAR wouldn't have missed it. We've seen a lot of, I think, very courageous calls in this competition.
Yeah.
calls that we ordinarily wouldn't have ascribed to African referees. We've seen them make those calls where the referees on the pitch have failed or refused to. The VAR had called them back. A case in point was the Nigerian goal against what do you call it? Cameroon.
Against them,
Yeah, and that's one. And secondly, the penalty that led to the goal against Ivory Coast that was given to Nigeria, that took some courage too. Some other officials wouldn't have given it, because especially when play had gone over,
had continued,
they wouldn't have called it. So for me, it would be remiss of me if I sit down here and say, CAF had favored Ivory Coast. No, I do not. I think everybody has been served, and those who have not gotten their own, they should just wait. Before the competition will end, they will get their own. And I think Nigeria got its own. It got a penalty against Ivory Coast, then it got a goal ruled out against Cameroon. So for me, I think that has just been on the balance of play.
Okay. Some news now from AFCON. Of course, Nigeria, they're still sweating over the fitness of their first choice goalkeeper, Stanley Nwabali. So today, Wednesday, it will be, they would think that it will be able to pass a late fitness test for the game against Angola on Friday. And Ghana, I don't know whether you've seen the video released by Dede Ayew. He has, again, sent a heartfelt apology to football fans in Ghana, and he said he takes responsibility for everything that happened on the pitch. Though all of them, they've been sending messages on social media, but as a captain, he took it a notch higher, and he sent a message to the fans in Ghana. They are sorry. And of course, the GFA, they've continued the search for a new coach for the Black Stars. And we heard that some foreign coaches have begun to send their application to the GFA. But what do you make of the Ayew's heartfelt apology to Ghanaian fans?
To be honest with you, I think it wasn't necessary. And I will tell you why. The real culprits, those who should be apologizing to the whole Ghana and Africa, are the GFA. The GFA, no, Femi, I'm being very, very honest here. Number one, the GFA should do a lot of soul searching. What went wrong at the AFCON? This is the second time back to back that Ghana have failed to make it through the group stages. Something is wrong fundamentally. The coach that he had this time was not the coach. Chris Houston was not the coach when they lost in 2021. No, he wasn't the coach.
Under the same GFA president,
yes,
Dr. Koto Krapo.
That's what I'm saying. So that
has won the election again.
That means it's a much more structural problem than just changing the coach. If they just, without trying to get to the root of what happened, if they change the coach, that's like you using a new piece of cloth to cover their feces on the ground. Of course, it doesn't make it smell less. The smell will still be there, regardless of whether you use a rag or you use a brand new cloth. So what they should be doing is to do a lot of soul searching, look at the GFA itself. What are the processes and the procedures that you use? Because as long as you have the same structure, you are just pouring water in the same dirty container. Whatever you pour out will be stained, will be dirty. They should look at GFA, reorganize, and then before they talk about the coach or the players. For now, whatever the players apologize for will not change anything. The next year, the AFCON will be on again if they qualify, because that's a big if. If they qualify, and why I say a big if, because the AFCON qualifiers will go along with the World Cup qualifiers.
World Cup qualifiers,
yes, so that will make it a little bit more tedious on the players. It will make it much more cumbersome. But if they do go ahead to qualify, I do not expect to see a radical improvement on what they've done in the last two AFCON.
Okay, of course. Excuse me. We also heard that an ambulance had to rescue 3 Ivorian fans at the stadium during the shootout against Senegal because they just couldn't stand the drama. So the AFCON, I'm sure the whole world will sit and say, how has Africa been able to pull this one? That would be the conversation that a lot of European organizations would have, because it's been the best. Everyone is actually testifying that it's been the best. And we are happy that African football is getting rebranded. And we hope that this will just be the starting point. Kado Gundare, thank you so much for your thoughts on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Femi. See you some other time.
All right. Okay, so James Agberebi unfortunately could not make it today, but tomorrow, hopefully, or when next we come around, it will be around for the show. Our fans across the world, we appreciate you so much for your company, for your support to Sport Africa. Thank you so much. But please don't forget, please tell someone to subscribe to our channel so that at least they can be part of what we dish out here. And of course, please don't forget to click on that notification button so you can get our video as soon as they are posted. Thank you so much for everything. Of course, we'll be seeing you in the preview for the quarterfinal games, Nigeria versus Angola. That is going to be something to actually look out for. It's actually like the headline type for the quarterfinals, but in this AFCON, you can't rule out anything. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.